I read that you moved around quite a bit as a kid.
Yeah.
And that seemed to have a pretty big impact on you developing your own personality or realizing that personality is ephemeral.
Yes, totally. Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
So I was curious about that because you almost went down a path that's totally different than where you are. So was there a pressure or an expectation on you to go down a certain path that was different than the path in your brain that you couldn't trust yet? Or?
Right. Oh, that's such a good question. Yeah, I think part of it is that early on moving around a lot, I remember talking to a casting director once and asking her, what do you think actors have in common? Like, what are actors as a kind of being? And she was like, I used to think it was divorced parents. I used to think that some of the great actors I would see came from divorced families. And then she was like, and then I realized that it isn't divorce per se, it was the shifting of location. Like, so if kids went from dad's house to mom's house and that was a separate journey, or if kids grew up in the army and they'd been in this continent and this continent, or if kids just moved around a lot, like if you stay in one place, you can create one personhood. You have one bedroom. It always looks the same. Like my poster of BJ Armstrong is here. My Little Pony sheets are there. That's true. I had both of those things. And this is who I am. And these are my friends at school. And
right, and those friends don't change and the street doesn't change. And yeah.
And you're this thing. If you keep moving, that just gets smashed up all the time. I mean, like, who you were in one place that worked well, you're now in another school and you walk into the lunchroom and nobody wants to be friends with that girl, you know? So then you're like, okay, gosh, well, how does this system work?
So you start shifting your personality.
You naturally shape shift. And my parents were real estate developers. And so sometimes they would just begin a new project and they'd be like, okay, now we're moving to Tampa.
Okay.
Now we're moving to Miami. Now we're back here in Illinois in Winnetka. And then eventually we ended up in Orlando, which was a real cultural shift. So you can imagine it's an unusual place to
So
grow
you
up.
did have to be like, my Chicago stuff isn't working
No,
in
they
Orlando.
don't care who BJ Armstrong is here. They've never heard of, they've heard of Dennis Rodman, but they don't have like Dennis Rodman paraphernalia. This is like, there's no transactional relationship.
So underneath all that, do you think that changing of identity was sort of a way to, protect yourself?
Totally. Definitely as a kid, I think it is a defense mechanism, you know, in a way in a survival strategy. You know? But I think now I sort of just accept that like who I am at 80 will be very different from who I am now. I mean, there'll be core things that are the same. I'll probably, you know.
Still have a BJ Armstrong person.
I'll still have BJ Armstrong person, and I'll still be like, you know, thrill-seeking, you know, love risk, love the adrenaline of that, but differently.